You're listening to the Heroed Out Podcast. To find out how to hear the latest episode or to connect with us, please visit heroedout.com. Consumer discretion is advised.
All right, we're back here with the Heroed Out Podcast. We're back here again with a special guest, Carl. And today's topic
is we're talking to you guys that are, it's on the horizon, retirement, the end, the final frontier is here. And as you guys are approaching this place in your life, in your personal and professional life, where do you do from here? Where do you go? Exactly. How do you transition? And I think all too often you find people that they haven't prepared for this. So I think it's a good time for those that may be staring down the barrel of walking away from the thing that they've been part of their whole entire life. They gotta have a path in front of them. Don't let it sneak up on you, because this day's going to come one way or the other.
Yeah, I think this episode in particular it's going to be focused on obviously the guy's retirement, but it's going to be important for the people looking to leave the profession also, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. It's if you're making this transition out and you're 6, 8 years in, 7, 10, 15, 25 years in, regardless of when you're walking out the door, don't let it be a surprise. I mean, Carl, you've been in public service for 30 plus years. At some point you're going to have to leave it all behind, and you need to start thinking about these things.
It's funny you say that, because the other day I got an email from the FRS saying, congratulations, you have 5 years left before you can retire. Boom, there it was.
Yeah, it almost catches you blindside. You don't.
It did.
And it's the pre-planning to understand that, and there's going to be a toll. I think that there is almost separation anxiety that you can get thinking about it, wondering what's going to happen, where you're going to go from here. But you get stuck in the mindset that this is the only thing I know how to do, and it's not the only thing that I'm good for or good at. I think that a lot of people don't give themselves credit. And that's some of the stuff we're going to dive into today, is that there is a huge world out there. There's somebody out there that makes this table thing. Somebody makes the fucking little hand thing. There's somebody for everybody. So don't sell yourself short. But if you're not planning for that exit, you're really going to be shocked when you get there, because you don't want somebody to rip that Band-Aid off. You want to know that it's coming.
Yeah, and I mean, most guys, Carl, you could probably attest to this too. Most guys that I've seen that are coming up on that, they have 5 years left. That's when they go, oh shit, because they haven't planned anything at that point. They've just been riding out day to day, collecting their check, thinking they're going to live off that pension for the rest of their life, and they haven't done any financial planning. They haven't done any post-career planning.
Right.
What's your experience in the fire department?
So it's kind of funny being in the fire department as opposed to being in law enforcement, in that we have what seems like more time off. So a lot of guys have side businesses where they do AC, or they do, especially here in Florida,
Sure.
they do fishing charters. But there are quite a few guys that all of a sudden, like, they're going to get that email, and they never thought that day would come, and here it comes. And did they put enough away in their savings? Did they have a deferred comp, something like that?
Yeah, I think for me, it was a lot of the times it was the people that were like, oh shit, now I need to go talk to a financial planner.
Which you should have been doing a long time ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that is one benefit. When I worked in the fire service, that you did have those 2 days off to do that side job. But I think a lot of people got to that point because they needed that side job. It wasn't quite there. When I started, it was like $26,000 a year, $27,000 a year, and that's not much by the time you pay your insurance, your taxes, your retirement, and, all the other things that you need that come out of your paycheck. There's not a whole lot of money left over. So a lot of the people they had lawn businesses, they were AC plumbers, but a lot of those people, those are skills and trades that obviously they've developed.
Right.
But there's a lot that don't, man. I've worked with a lot of people. They're like, well, what do you do? Nothing. Like fucking Xbox and JO. I don't know. I have no idea what they do, man. Like, what do you do all day?
And that's what they plan on doing. The guys that I know that don't have second jobs,
Jacking off,
they haven't planned out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got that goals.
Everybody gets a free handy when you retire.
Does that pay? Is there any money?
Well, it does. It's you can't get caught. Don't
yeah,
tell the police.
It's $5 for an HJ. It's $10 for a BJ and $20 for a ZJ.
Okay.
I was more focused on the Only Dads thing we talked about before. The world's gone digital now, Carl.
Well, then perfect. Then
I got the reference. If you don't know what a ZJ is, you can't afford it.
I was hoping he was going to say that so I could.
Yeah, no, I was totally in the digital world.
You're ready for the HJ, huh?
You had me at $5.
But yeah, I think, you know, you get to that point and there are guys that are going to come up and they're going to go, their dream was, I'm going to do the job for 25 years, go into the drop for, you know, 5:30, whatever it is. And then I'm just going to coast. And that's
not a reality.
What do you do all day, bro? What do you do? Like,
it's not even about that, man. Financially, it's not even there.
No,
Like,
this is true. I mean,
we
unless
talked
you're
about this
just like a
before.
minimalist where you don't. But I mean, like for me, you guys know, dude, I'm a fucking million miles a minute. I have like literally 7 different jobs that I do now that leaving has given me the freedom to do. But what do you do? Like, there's only so much fucking TV I can watch. Like, I couldn't tell you the last time I've watched a full episode, like an hour-long show with my wife outside of being in the bed. And she makes me.
Like your own show?
Dude, it's none of your fucking business, okay?
recorded from the mirror.
Yeah.
Let me show you what you did wrong.
But I mean, I guarantee you
Game day
there's
footage.
people out listening right now that are probably at that cusp and are like, fuck that. I could do 5 years of golfing and just be fine. Bullshit.
Yeah, no. A good friend of ours, Todd. I love Todd. Todd's a great guy. He says, man, I'm just going to fucking golf. I'm going to fucking surf. And I'm like,
Not going to happen.
bro, it's going to get old, dude. I'm telling you, like, you got to have, I mean, there's some people that they're very content that way. Todd's not like that, dude. He loves outdoors and working out. I mean, he's a fucking jam up guy. One of the greatest guys I've worked with, you know, in all my time there. But I can just see him mentally mapping that and then getting there and going, fuck, man. Like, he's got to look for something to do, you know?
And it's funny, I kind of have an insight because my injury. So I'm at home now for, I've been,
Semi-retired now.
yeah. So yesterday was 4 weeks since I actually had the surgery, 4 calendar weeks. And now that's like a view of retirement. Like you said, it's all right now what?
And you miss it.
And I'm kind of bored. Like,
And you're still getting the same paycheck now that you would normally get.
And I was thinking the other day as we were driving to the store, I miss being on the engine. I want to go back to the engine, you know?
You miss work.
Yeah.
Miss doing something.
Yeah, exactly. And I go to the gym in the morning. Granted, I can only do leg days, and cardio.
Which also,
And then I come home. You know, I joke with my wife that I would come home and, you know, when I retired, come home from the gym, shower, play video games for a little bit, and then we stare at each other and say, I don't know, what do you want to eat until we die? But man, it's like the day just takes forever to go by now. It's just,
You got to have to fill with something. And that's one of the things that these people don't plan for. And I feel so bad because it catches them off guard, because the one thing that is going to keep going up is the cost of living. So I know we had talked about it in one of our prior episodes, you know, like my retirement, the way I had it mapped out would have been like $53,000 after I pay my taxes. Bro, that ain't going to cover my medical bills. Like, what am I going to do? So like, you have to find a way, not necessarily just financially, but that's good for your mental health, to keep you stimulated, keep you doing something, because first responders, you know, in general, not just law enforcement, but first responders, they have such a low life expectancy after retirement. You know, good for the retirement systems that the state sponsor, because they know you're going to die soon. You're not going to get your money back out of you. But
Right.
as far as is that you got to do things, you know, you got to exercise. You know, if you are out of shape, you ain't got to be in great shape. I mean, I'm not in great shape. You guys go to the gym, you do way more than I do. I try not to sweat as much as I can.
that's lack of cardio. That's why I said it sucks.
Yeah. No, yes. I hate anything actual physical. I figure in the 21st century, I could pay somebody to do it for me, but we haven't got there yet. But no, you got to do these things because one, it's for your mind, it's for your body, it's also for your family. Like, you want to be there for your kids. You got 2 daughters, you know.
Yep.
You want to be there for your kids. You want to be there for your kids. But there was a guy that me and Kyle worked with. He'd been there 25 plus years, retired about 6 months ago, fell over dead. Dead. Now, was he in the greatest of shape? No. But at the end of the day, you're talking about somebody whose whole life revolved around
Work.
work. And that was it. Like the bulk majority of his life. And it's sad. It's terrible.
Yeah, and we're not saying like work till the day you die, but how many times, I mean, damn, especially in the law enforcement world, those guys came back and they were running prisoner transport, like 60, 65-year-old dudes, like transporting prisoners all day and wearing the gun belt still again. It's like, you know why? They came back for health insurance.
yep.
Like, are you serious? Like that would, come on.
And not for nothing, health insurance. Just say you're a single guy, $700-800 a month.
Yeah.
Which is a
Now-
lot, but it's not. But if you're not planning for that financially, that's what's going to burden you. But, getting into, like we talk about, like transferable skills, and this is where it's hard. So you go out there, you Google right now, I swear to God, you look it up, they'll tell you the same thing, like good jobs for retired cops or good jobs for retired firefighters. It's going to give you the same, like public security, private investigator. You can be all these things. Like there's so much beyond that, beyond those normal type of things that you can do, specifically in fire service and police service or, military. You're good with crisis management. And what is crisis management? It's dealing with what? People. You're really good at dealing with people. You're great at being a manager. You're great at handling stressful situations. So in the last few months since I left, I've been dealing with the private sector a lot more in more of an intimate setting. And man, they have no life experience. These people, like they're 35, 40 years old and they've been doing whatever career they do, but they can't handle stress. If the pieces of the puzzle don't fall in the right place, they lose it. It's like they don't have that ability to manage those crises. Yeah.
In the private world, man, I tell you, it has been so eye-opening for me, specifically. Like, it sounds cliche, but like public servants are treated like shit from internally most of the time, unfortunately. That so bad so that if they were a private company, they'd never last. Like they'd be shutting their doors within a month because
they'd be belly up 100 years ago.
And not even because of the pay, just because of how they treat people. Like, well, I'm not beholden to you. Where it's like in public service, it's almost that paramilitaristic thing where it does feel like you're under the thumb kind of thing.
Yeah.
And as far as crisis management goes, when dealing with the people that don't have that, that's why I've always believed that there should be some type of compulsory military service. So even if it's 2 years of just being in the reserves, and I don't want to, no disrespect to anybody when reserve, but just in the reserves.
Oh,
but
we lost that demographic.
Yeah, they're gone, along with our telemarketers, our telephone.
But at least there you go to boot camp.
Right.
You have to go every 2 weeks, on the weekend. You got to follow orders. You got to do this. And they teach you those skills in there, especially in the Army. And I don't know about the Marine Corps or anything like that, but the Army has a PLDC, Platoon Leader Development course, where they teach you to manage your squad.
Right.
And your platoon. So that would be a great experience for people to get before they go out into the real world, or even while they're out there.
So one thing that always, I told Kyle specifically whenever I was transitioning out, I am not an entry-level employee at anything. So after 30 years, if you only value yourself as an entry-level guy, then you are probably just an entry-level guy when you left. That is your mindset. You need to change your mindset. Because you know what? If you think I'm an entry-level guy, fuck you. You know why? Because I know I bring this many years experience, all this, leadership training, development course, I can crisis management. So the job opportunities that were presented to me, if they weren't something I felt as though were a benefit to me as like my skill set, I don't want it. I don't need it. In specifically, I hate reading these websites like we're talking about with what you can do afterwards. So real estate, I got into real estate. In a matter of about 45 days, I will make more in real estate than I made on my annual salary in law enforcement. 100%. 100%.
And you know why that is, to your exact point? It's not because you learned those skills in the last 45 days.
No, I don't know shit about it. I just started it. Just started fucking 3 months ago.
You brought all that experience that you had in public service in dealing with people, because you're going to any job, you're going to deal with people if you're going to be successful. But I mean, I can see where people psychologically get into the thing, like, I'm a blue collar worker, man. Like, I'm a grunt,
Right.
And you'd be surprised. That's why I said it was eye opening going in the private sector. Like, you can thrive.
You can.
In so many different fields.
So these people that I've been working with in real estate, the buyers and sellers, and these are older people. They're not like, 21 buying their first house. We're in Central Florida, the Daytona Beach area. One's from Jacksonville. One's from Miami. One's from Connecticut. There's tens of thousands of realtors. In the relationship we built, they said, you're the only person that's been a normal person. You're able to handle these problems. You can call me. We communicate very well. You answer the phone and email. All of the basic skills that you think would be normal job function, communication, responding, treat people with respect, and just being a human, they're not there. It's where the fuck's a phone? Everybody's buried in a phone. Nobody has these skills. So with real estate, that's one thing that I do on the side, on top of doing, numerous other things. So another thing that you can do. I know one field is specifically for like law enforcement is consulting. So there's tons of consulting firms. There's different things, and I do consulting work. I have a small little group, and we work on a couple of different projects. But I didn't start those. Like those have all grown. And when I put in for these grants and these bids, well, why should we award it to you? Well, this is why, and this is the salesmanship. And for you in fire or us in police or any one of these high risk, you are constantly in a salesman mode. You're in crisis mode. You are dealing with victims, suspects, families, patients. You're dealing with patients' families and understanding how to remain calm, to be able to communicate clearly, to be effective and efficient in your communication. Those skills are incredibly valuable, and they're in high demand, and there's a low number of people that have them. So if you go in with that, well, I'm only going to make 35, 40 grand a year. Well, fucking shit on you. That's your problem. That's not my problem.
The other thing bring to that, it reminded me, because you said real estate. So my mom just sold her house in Vegas, and now she's living with my aunt out in Utah, and she bought another house. Her real estate agent was in crisis mode the entire time he was trying to sell a house. Granted, it was his first house. But the other thing about all the skills that we've developed here is make a decision. Go forward or go backward, but make a decision. Do something. You don't need to call me to tell me that, hey, in the real estate example, like there was a spot on the wall that needed to be redone because there was a leak. Okay.
Fix it, motherfucker.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Right.
But he must have called my mom like 2 or 3 times a day for a week, with them trying to figure out what to do. And I said, just fix it. Who cares? Fix it.
Was it? What does that give you confidence in his abilities?
No.
And he might have been his first, but he might have been his first sale. I don't know the guy, but
Yeah, it was his first sale. So I'll give
how
him
old is
that,
this
but-
guy? How old is he?
I think he's in his 40s.
You're in 40 fucking years old and you can't figure who ties your fucking shoes, man?
He must have been an IT guy or something. Damn it, we lost another demographic.
He actually worked with my mom. He worked with my mom at the VA, so we lost that demographic.
Yeah,
too. At the VA hospital in Vegas. Nice guy, real nice guy, but goddamn, make a decision. Just pick up the phone and say, "Don't
do something."
Yeah, because if you give somebody the well, what do you want to do? Hey, this is what we need to do to sell the house. Okay, do it. And then it was a whole him and hawing thing. Just make the decision.
And those are the things, like I said, and not just real estate or even consulting, but there's some other jobs I do that are very obscure. But anything like Kyle, you do you work with insurance now, right? I mean,
Yep, I do the same thing I used to, except for I do it from my house.
yeah. In how long did it take you to promote up?
Well, I had those transferable skills, so it was very quick for me. I mean, I was lucky, and even though they're similar, like I think the whole point of what we're talking about here is just don't have a narrow focus on what your abilities are, because like in incident command, like every call you run is a project management thing, and that's a huge field right now.
No, it is. So, and also disaster preparedness, disaster response.
Right.
So I can tell you there's companies right now, one of the ones that I have a side job for, I don't get paid from it, but when there is a incident, they retain my services for management and consultation on how to deploy resources, making sure those who are responding have all the proper certification. There's a whole slew of things, but they need somebody who can manage this. You don't need management experience. You just need to be able to act like an adult. So there's a ton of different things out there, ton of different things. So as long as you are thinking outside the box and giving yourself more credit than you think you're due, because the world will give you what you ask of it.
Right.
You know, the world, if you only want 40 grand a year, that's what the world's going to give you. And that's not, unfortunately, for me, you know, you only have a few years left. Where I was at, I just financially, I probably have a little under $400,000 in debt between my house, my rental house, and a couple other things. My personal goal is 3 years to pay that off. So you talk about $90,000 a year going to debt. So how much do I have to make? But there is the potential to make money and do these things, but you have to understand that you can't sell and you need to have a plan. You need to be, you need to formulate a plan to have this, come to fruition.
And for firefighters, and I'm not sure about law enforcement, but You know, in the fire service, incident command is a big thing. And now FEMA's requiring all the states to teach firefighters different levels of incident command. So before it used to be like one class. And now I think firefighters have to take like 4 classes. You get certified in incident command. That's great. You can use that when you go out and get another job after you retire. And there it is. There's your management.
Not only that, if you go through, again, if you want to work full time, you can have full time, but there are other opportunities. Another one is like not just disaster response and preparedness, but let's say you want to do like insurance adjusting or field adjusting. Well, they need somebody who has ICS 1, 2, 3, 4, 700, 800. So you have these all under your belt. So when you go to these environments, that's one thing law enforcement did on a separate note, is lived by ICS the way fire does, because they are way better at crisis management in that regard. But all of those things, man, you have no idea what those are worth, because you try to send somebody from the private sector, you tell them, you need to learn CFLOP. And they're like, huh? You know, they okay, well, you've been doing it for 30 plus years.
Right. Yeah, it's companies look for those skills, and even major companies that get contracts for the state to do roads, they have safety managers. And that guy, and I actually talked to one of the guys, and I'm like, what kind of job, you know, how's this job? And he said, it's great. He said, I have 1 class through OSHA, and I make 80-something thousand a year, and I just make sure everybody gets they have their hard hats on, their safety vests on, they get their CPR recertification when they need it, and I get a company car, and I get a bonus at the end of the year.
It almost doesn't seem like work.
No,
compared to what we're doing. You know?
No. And he's not. This is when they were doing I-4 and I-95 right there in Daytona, and 90 degrees. We're out there at a overturned tractor trailer. He's not sweating. The AC in that truck is brand new, and he's just, okay, everybody's got their safety stuff on. I don't need to do anything. I'll just wait till the fire department leaves and talk to my guys, make sure they're okay, and then I'm done for the day.
I think a big root cause to that mindset that we're talking about here is, you know, you're in there, especially these people we're talking about, the 20-plus year people, you're comfortable.
Oh, you get very,
that's your quote-unquote steady paycheck, even if it's not what you are capable of, it's comfortable. So how would you prepare? Because you did, you prepared and left. How would you suggest other people do the same thing to get that level of confidence or surety? Because that's a huge psychological component, I think.
Yeah, it is. But first off, you have to have a plan.
Right.
Okay, your plan's always subject to change. So if you try something and you fail, good. I'm glad it blew up in your fucking face. I'm glad you had a bad day. Learn from it, adapt, gain some intel and information, and keep moving forward. So don't put all your irons in one fire either. Like I said, right now, I literally have, and this is no joke, I have 7 different jobs I'm juggling. I left in April. It's June. So 2.5 months later, all of these jobs bring in money. None of the jobs bring in a significant amount of money where I can focus all my energy. But as they start to grow, I will focus more energy on that. You can't be unilaterally focused. You need to have multiple plans of attack, and you need to be able to execute these plans. Don't be afraid also to take a job that you believe is beneath you, because it may present opportunities. Just like I was referring to a moment ago with your job in insurance. You took a job in insurance, and in fucking 4 or 5 months, they're like, hey dude, you're fucking killing it. You're killing it. Like, they promoted you. Mm-hmm. Why? Because you have that work ethic. And I think what you'll find specifically is you're used to working 12, 14, 15, 24 hours, sometimes 36 or 48. If
that
you're
sounds
doing
terrible.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So you have all these, but you need to have a plan of attack, and don't be afraid to modify that plan of attack. But you can't get those wheels in motion if you haven't been pre-planning. So if you're 30 days out of retirement, bro, this message ain't for you. I'm talking about the guy that's 5 years out, 6, 7 years out, and he's like, okay, I'm on that downhill slide. I can find my way out the door. Start penciling it down. You should be building your financing, your deferred comp, your IRA or your Roth, whatever, well ahead of time. Mm-hmm. But you got to get one. Do I think an education is important? I don't want to answer that, because there's people that out there think they're just, you can send an idiot to school. You just have an educated idiot. You know what I mean? I think it's important. Is now the time to go back to school, though? I mean,
If
Yeah.
if you're 30 days out,
it's completely no, not if you're 30 days out. You know, I've seen other people, and we both have mutual friends that have on their 5-year out. They went to law school part time,
Yeah.
and planned their exit that way. But you know, if you are knocking on the door, like it's already past. It's already past that point. You know,
We have a couple firefighters, one that just got certified as a lawyer, just passed his bar, and another one, maybe two, that are actually going to law school. So, I mean,
that's scary.
yeah.
yeah, this is true.
And you know, so they're making far more as a law intern than they are as a firefighter. But again, they're just here for the insurance benefits.
Yeah, until that doesn't become, it's become so irrelevant. Like your 12 grand down the road a year is not going to be.
No, and that goes back to the personal, professional, financial planning aspect of this conversation. Is that okay? You're $1,000 a month that this job's paying you. How much are you losing by not dedicating all your time towards those other jobs? You know what I mean? So, and another thing you can pick up piecework. There's a lot of 1099 piecework that you can pick up. So I actually grabbed a job about a month ago. There's guys, they do it all the time. They work police, fire, EMS. They have just, first responder experience. They're making probably $1,500 to $2,000 extra a month just doing this on the side. But if you don't go out there and look for it, and don't be afraid to try. So there's nothing in this world that says you can't have two jobs at once, right? Mm-hmm. So one of my jobs, I work from home on the computer. They pay me a salary amount. As long as I get my work done, they don't care what I do.
Right.
So if I'm very productive, I'm very focused. If I can do two jobs at once during that same 8-hour time frame, what does it hurt? It's the mental. You got to change the way you're thinking. You're thinking, this is my job, and then I leave here, and then I have my other job that pays me. You said something one time, and it really resonated with me, Kyle. You told me that all you're doing is trading hours,
Time for money.
Yeah, time for money. You're just trading time for money is what he said, and that's so scary because I don't want to do that. So now, what I do personally, I get up about 6. Try to work out most days if I can, unless the kids are up early and then they suck. But I try to get up 6:30. I'm done working out by 7. Get them up, shower, change, wash, bed, off to school or off to grandma's, and I just crush it. I do all my work I can between 8 and 12. Mm-hmm. I work a 4-hour day, and I make significantly more than I used to make.
Well, especially in the private sector, I think that what that boils down to, the brass tacks of that is you're helping more people. Mm-hmm. And the company is more profitable because you're helping more people. Like you can save 10,000 kids in a burning building and you're going to get paid the same whether you're doing that or sitting on the couch watching TV.
Right.
In the private world, it's not the same.
No, there's that.
There's exponential.
There's the quid pro
growth
quo. There's the quid pro quo. Yeah, I can't spit that out. But that's why I don't go to law school. But there is that, like, hey, this guy's crushing it. We need to reward him. So there's a old adage. It's basically the guy is secretary. He hires her about 6 months later. She's doing really great. Gives her a raise. 6 months later, he gives her another raise. So his boss finds out about it. He goes, what the fuck are you doing? Like, we can't, you're just giving her all this money. He says, we can afford to money. We can't afford to work without her. We can afford to pay her. We can't afford to work without her.
You bring value, you get value.
That's exactly what it is. So as you are coming up on those end of your retirement, you start staring down that barrel, have a real time to sit and focus on what skills you bring and what you can excel at. Don't be one of those people that you retire, like you talked about, they come back and now they're driving the PT wagon, you got to break out of this. And I think a lot of that comes back to just the addiction. You're addicted to the adrenaline.
Sure.
You're addicted to the excitement, the focus, the brotherhood, the camaraderie. Like, this is all but that's not all there is.
Yeah, I got a friend that he's did 8 years Army Special Forces, was a sniper, got blown up a few times. And his wife told him, that was enough. He got a job at Scott's, became their plant safety manager, and I think he worked there for 20 or 30 years, and he got close to retirement, and he couldn't wait. Then he retired, and then suddenly wanted to go back to work because he was bored. But because he had made such a name for himself as the plant manager, even after he was retired, other companies in the area were calling him up. Their headhunters were calling, and they were offering
Soliciting,
him,
yeah.
they were offering him 6-figure jobs. And he finally took a lower paying one because it was at a waste facility, because it was like 3 days a week or whatever it is. But it's
More
very
amenable
few-
to his life.
Yeah, very few hours, and he can still retire. But that's the key, like you're saying, make yourself out there, and then the people will come to you when they need something.
Yeah. So exactly to that, I've seen so many people when they've left, they've been successful in other stuff. It's because of the contacts that they've had and made, and the relationships that that they've built with other people. Most people didn't just leave and start from the ground up. Like, they had a connection somewhere. Lean on those people.
No, it does. And you'd be surprised what that relationship is, because if they know you as a person and a professional, it's funny you say that, because I just wrote down networking. Mm-hmm. It's vitally important. You don't need to do that 34 days before you drop out. Like, you need to be doing that like 5 years ahead of time. Like, you need to start building these bonds and relationship. As far as real estate, I didn't have nobody. I'll tell you exactly how it happened. Me and my wife took a little day trip down to the Florida Keys, and a couple good friends of ours came. And I was telling them, I'm working my way out, and I was grabbing my real estate license, and she's like, oh, no shit. My niece just started her own real estate company, and she's looking for brokers, so I called up her niece, super cool chick. She's just like, yeah, and then she starts telling me that everybody that works for her are either cops, retired cops, nurses, or retired nurses. Like, they're all in these high risk fields. And she's like, they're all push button. They're easy to operate. They know what they're doing. They're reliable. They communicate very well. Coming from a field where she was an agent for I don't know how many years, and now she's got her own brokerage. Mm-hmm. She's like, it's so much easier for me to work with you. If I call you, you have an answer. If you don't have the answer, you'll get me the answer. The communication is so much smoother, and she's finding some success in that niche of a market. And, another gentleman you're telling about, he left, and that's what he does now over in the Daytona Beach area, right?
Yeah. And he's making more money ever than now. I mean, what I think that boils down to, and kind of to segue into the next segment of this, focused around the mental health aspect of it, because we've been focused on professional stuff. In a book, Courageously Broken by D.A. Michaels, she's a retired Brevard County deputy. She did a book on this. She had PTSD and did research and found that the average person in America experiences one traumatic event in their lifetime. The average first responder in a 20-year career, 8,000. So
that's at 20 years.
That's just in 20 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the average, the national average. So, I mean, there's outliers, obviously, probably in Chicago that deal with 40,000 in those 20 years or something like that. But those are all problem-solving techniques, every one of those things. So those can help you in your professional part of it, obviously. You can kill it that way. But that will play a toll on you, too, especially being in here that long. Professionally, financially, those are great. You need to focus on that, but you need to focus on your physical and mental.
Absolutely.
Moving forward, too.
For sure. And mental health is obviously, I think, one of the most important things you can have, because if you're not well in your mentally, if you don't have it all together, it's going to adversely affect almost every other part of your life. So if you come home in a shit mood, guess what happens? Your wife's in a shit mood. Now the kids are screaming. It's just that ripple effect. So for those people, take it if you want. Don't take it if you don't want to. 5, 6, 7 years out, go to a counselor. Go to a marriage counselor. Go to a family counselor, because this is a huge division in your life. There's a lot of people, they do this, and all of a sudden they end up divorced. Like, how did your wife stick with you being gone 24 hours a day, every third day for 30 fucking years? And all of a sudden you're home and she's like, eat it. Like, what happened?
Yeah, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but one of the top 5 things for divorce and money fights and all that kind of stuff is money, is career change, is, new child. Those life-altering things like that, they're going to bring added stress. In leaving, it might be a good stress. It's still stress.
No, it is. It is. But if you prepare for that, if you talk about it, and I think that's one thing that is missed out on. So there's a lot of agencies that I've worked with and worked for that. Do you want to actually have change, or do you want to actually have this process, or do you want to appear like you do? Do you want to care, or do you want to appear like you care?
I think it would behoove every agency out there, no matter how big, no matter how small. The military does it. They have a transition program that you go through. It's
Yeah,
like
we
a
talked
week.
about that. Yeah,
Right,
On your,
it's-
yeah.
So
Was it EOS and a service or
yeah,
something
so
like that?
God, I got to think because this was like so long
Been a
ago.
minute.
The Navy was still wearing bell bottoms. They hadn't transitioned to camo uniforms yet. The first camo uniforms they put on, which are blue, but
The
they
ocean's
sent
blue,
us
Carl,
to
dummy.
Right, I should have gone in 20 years later. They had a transition program. I think you went to it within your 6 months of your EOS, and then these are all the places you need to call. You need to call the VA. You need to call here. You need to do this. These are all the jobs that are out there, and they help you transition from military to civilian life. It would behoove the organizations, the public safety organizations, to have something similar. And it doesn't even have to be just for public safety, but if you work in county government or city government for 30 years and that's all you know, you still need to learn how to transition from that to
What's next?
right to what's next. And those programs help a lot.
No, they do.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a poor analogy, but they've been doing that in prisons for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And it's not because of the prisoners, because of what they can contribute to society when they get out. You know, you're
What a
coming from a
novel
different
idea.
world.
You know what I mean? What a
whether
novel
you're in
idea.
prison, whether you're in the military, whether you're a nurse, a teacher, whatever, you're coming from a different world. Like, you think that's reality, and it's very narrow.
No, it's not. You've been so focused. If you're a teacher, who are your friends?
Teachers.
You know what I mean? And who are your, what do you talk about? And who do you talk with? And who do you, like we talked about in a prior episode, we said, look, you got to get friends outside of that. You got to do things that are different. So with all that said, having those mental health plans involving, I think there's stigma of still saying, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm angry, I don't feel right or whatever. Suicide is something that is very real for first responders. Suicide is something that's very prevalent, but it's also very preventable. And I mean that in the sense that if you were to take steps, you can take actions and put plans in place to help lessen the stress, because some people will deal with stress significantly different than others. So as you come up on retirement, you think it's a great thing. For example, we had a guy I worked with. He was super pumped. He was like, fuck yeah, I'm retiring. Fuck this place, I'm out. Like, he's jacked. And he's like, man, I'm going to get like X amount of money a year. And we're like,
That sucks.
yo, dog, did you take out your taxes? And he swear to God, if I'm lying down, he looks, he says, you don't have to pay taxes on your retirement.
Taxable income if it's a pension, buddy.
28 years in, and he had no idea that his retirement was taxable. So he went from thinking he was going to have X amount to like 30% less. So that's somebody who went into panic mode, figuring out now, is he actually physically capable of retirement? So this is all about the pre-planning. That was financial, but mentally and emotionally, how do you think that dealt with when he just went and bought a $500,000 house and he thought his retirement was going to cover paying it down?
Different picture now.
Different picture. Include your friends, include your family. Don't be afraid to talk about these things, because they are going to come up, and they may not be bothering you now, but you need to learn the skills to communicate. And communication is actually a really important skill set that you have dealing with crisis. How well do you communicate with your wife when you guys are arguing?
When emotions are in, communication's not
That
happening.
goes to shit, right?
Yeah, not productive communication. Anyways.
Isn't it wild though? You go to codes or pediatric codes or drownings, or you go to like DVs, and you're just like, boom, boom.
Mm-hmm.
Those are learnable skills that you need to take and put into your personal life. So if you're not doing that, you need to, because you can, like I tell you can get a new job, you can't get a new wife, you can't get new kids. I mean, you get a new wife, you can't get new kids, but
You can get new kids.
yeah, I guess you still have the original
You
ones.
still, yeah.
But-
Just more money, more problems.
Yeah. So you got to take care of yourself, and you got to start looking at these problems. I guess I'll just keep punching the fucking microphone all episode.
Hey,
Take
who
your
put that
aggression
there?
out there.
Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
Fuck
That's your
you.
coping skill.
Sorry, squirrel. No, you got to stay focused on taking care of yourself, even physically. Physical fitness. A lot of people, they call it it's therapeutic for them. They love. I think running's terrible. I don't think it should have ever been invented, and I think whoever invented it should be shot on sight. But like these people, they love running. It gets them.
Oh yeah, no.
That mental break. but you got to find that outlet in physical fitness and stress and breathing. That's going to work on your physical health. That's also going to give you time to have your me time. But that's going to build that bridge for you to have a better life outside of retirement.
And the other thing is so when you go to the gym, you wind up bumping into somebody that you know through somebody else, and all of a sudden now you have a bunch of friends that you see at the gym when you go there.
That are not cops or firemen.
Correct.
Or,
That are just, but they want to know about your job. Or like as an example, I became friends with an Army recruiter because my daughter was going to join the Army, and I see him at my gym all the time. So now we're like gym buddies. We talk, we bullshit, and it's great having somebody that's not part of the job field as a friend.
Yeah.
So me personally, like all three of us, we have been very successful in what we've done, right? And I think I personally was the type of person, probably because I was ignorant to most things, but I was also super type A, like I'll figure it out, right? Like relied on myself to figure it out. I'll research it, do it myself. But I kind of equate it now to like the multitude of counsel thing. Like, do you go to a dentist to do your taxes, right? No, you don't do that.
Right.
Like, I'm going to put people in my corner who know what the hell they're doing. They're the ones that specialize, whether it's mental health, physical trainer. How many guys like just go there and rough it, but then when they go get a physical trainer, like they actually see results. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like getting those specialized people in there, I think getting those type of people in your corner, whether it's finances, mental health, whatever, job prospects, like that is super important. If I had that early on, man, I don't even know where I'd be right now.
No, and you, in this industry, these high risk industries or these public service jobs, you'll find people that live, eat, and breathe and die for. They will sacrifice their marriage, their kids, everything for it, and that's that level of addiction. But there's a lot of them that are not. They just get stuck in that rut. Well, you got to pull yourself up out of it because eventually that road's going to come to an end. And where do you go from here? And that's what I really want to try to drive home today for you guys is make a plan. Regardless of how crappy it is, write it down. On my desk at my house, I owe $367,940 currently in debt. That's what I owe. But I have a plan. I have to pay over $8,800 a month to pay off that debt in 3.5 years. Am I going to make it? I don't know, but I have a plan. You have to have something tangible that you can hold on to.
And the other part is especially for the new guys, the newer guys, you can go to school, you can take all the classes you want, and your organization, more often than not, has some type of reimbursement plan. Or they will pay for your schooling if it's job related. So you can go get all sorts of certifications that you can use afterward. Like we have guys that retired and then got their fire inspector and came back to work as a part-time fire inspector. That is a great way to start planning out before you leave.
I met a buddy of mine yesterday. The agency he works for sent him to school to be a CDL driver. What the fuck is that?
It's necessary in a lot of public service jobs, though.
You know what I mean? But currently, is there a need for that? I don't know. But he's like, hey, if they're putting it out there, I talked to him about this. He's like, it's something I'll have forever that they paid for if I want to do it or I need to do it or and just the opportunity presents itself. It's taking that initiative. But this is somebody who said, I have a long ways from retirement, but this lasts me forever. Just like,
It's a feather in the cap.
No, it is, absolutely. It absolutely is.
And the more that you have, the more diverse you are, the more job opportunities you have when it comes time to leave this profession. Whether you leave at 10, 15, 20, 30 years, at least you'll have something that you can go, oh, hey, when I leave here, I can go do this job part-time, make good money, easy money, and not feel as stressed out as I was and still collect my retirement.
That's the other thing. When you have that retirement, that is still a form of income. This is just supplementary income, and if you have that ability, why not try something new? Something you're
exactly.
Options, lead to peace.
They also lead to opportunity.
Like if you have nothing on the table and you go try to be a salesman, you're going to sound like a hungry salesman. You know what I mean? But if you don't have to rely on it and you have other options and other things coming in, like you're going to be a lot easier to deal with. You're going to be more successful, it seems counterintuitive, but it really is the truth.
Yeah. So I'm hoping for anybody listening out there that's in that, coming up on that, hey, I can finally see the end of the tunnel. You're beyond that I'm stuck point. You're here. Like there's no, you're not stuck. You are here. You know what I mean? Unless you have some sort of life altering change personally, professionally, financially, you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. I mean, you're all the way here. So you got to start looking and down the road and mapping these things out. And it's just so important, because I've met a lot of people in my 17 years of public service who just one day are like, fuck you, I'm done, and left. And next thing you know, they're struggling, their car's getting repossessed, you know what I mean? They're dealing with something they weren't prepared for. So one of the things that for me, at least in somebody who wasn't leaving as a retirement, but just transitioning out, I had like 6 months worth of money in savings. That was my, in case shit happens. Like, these are my survivability funds, you know, if that makes sense.
Rainy day fund.
Yeah, it was. You know, say, hey, look, something
AC
happened.
goes out, shit, I'm not scrambling. Like, I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm good. And that's what you have to do. And it shouldn't be a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise. You should know you're going. It's not like you're like, oh, fuck, I didn't know we were going to go to a fire call today. Bitch, you're on a fire truck.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're on a well, I didn't know we were going to have to go to you were a police man. You got a police shit today.
Yeah, failure to plan is planning to fail.
Absolutely.
In anything you do.
No, it is. And that's one thing that I'm hoping to drive home from all of this, and not trying to sound like a broken record. But make a plan, write it down, and discuss it. Don't be so afraid or ashamed or worried about feeling embarrassed about saying things or talking about things because if you can establish that level of comfort and trust in communication, whether it be with your spouse or, you know, your therapist or whomever it is, you will be far more ready to deal with true personal emergencies because you've built these skill sets. You've learned how to cope, those coping mechanisms, those communication skills, which are very important, because if you shut your wife out, crisis mode, doesn't matter what it is, crisis mode, you know? I mean, you're all married. We're, you know.
I've been through that. I shut mine out for a while, a few years ago, and then I changed where, you know, what station I was at and stuff. It made things so much easier, and I opened up, and now it's great. I don't have the stress that I had before. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic.
It should be your partner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They should be a part of you in okay, let's say you're not. Let's say you're single, no kids, and you're coming up on that retirement. Now what?
Yeah.
Now what? You know, you got to have something. You got to put it down. And I don't care if you're like, you know what? All I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to school and I want to try to be a nurse. I've always wanted to do it. Try something, you know, do something to better yourself. But sitting around fucking Xbox and JO all day long, it's just going to get raw, man.
It's okay to fail.
Absolutely.
Come back and fail harder and fail harder than the last time. And each time you learn, and you're going to get there. It doesn't happen overnight.
No.
Yeah, I think to summarize everything we just said can be found in a quote by Zig Ziglar. He said, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every single time.
Was he a Nazi?
No, he's not a Nazi. He's an author, but I mean,
okay.
Pretty good orator, actually.
That was a swipe at Carl and his people.
That's like a ZJ, I guess.
Yeah. That was a swipe at Carl for you people out there. But
yeah, I'm sorry. We are sorry. We did not mean to upset anybody. Please continue. Yeah, thank you.
But so thank you guys for listening in. Again, another episode of the Hero It Out podcast. Always www. Actually, we're taking that off because apparently you can't say www. It's not cool anymore. Yeah. Am I not hip?
You've got a hip.
You get it. Okay. HeroItOut.com. HeroDout.com. HeroItOutOfficial@gmail. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Hey, you know what the Twitter is, by the way?
No idea.
It's the little area between the twat and the shitter. Probably have to edit that out.
Twatter. Oh. No, I'm not going to edit it out.
No, leave it in there.
Just text my wife real quick.
Yeah, just ask her if she knows where that is.
So, yeah, on there now you'll find ways to support. We're going to get more to come, but we're going to get big into the mental health movement, especially with first responders. You know, the proceeds from that is going to help us build that brand. We're going to do a 501, you know, here in the near future. So I guess I just released that without telling anybody before that. But hey,
there you go. All right,
there we are. But,
hey, high five, Carol.
For all of us over at the Hero It Out
Breaking
podcast,
news.
Yes, appreciate you guys.
Yeah, go to the store and
Thanks
get you a
for
shirt.
listening to the Hero It Out podcast. For the latest news and episodes, visit us at heroedout.com or on social media. Stay safe out there, heroes.